What's up, Kansas City? I'm your host, Glenn Bryan Frizzell. Today we are taping the historic 18th and Vine Jazz District at the Lincoln Building, home of KSHB Media Group. You may recognize this very recognizable young lady sitting next to me if you've ever tuned into a KSHB television news broadcast. She currently serves as midday anchor at KSHB, a television station she's been with at Listen for 17 years, over 17 years.
Yeah, working on 18.
That's quite an amazing accomplishment. We're glad to have her here with us today and talk to her a little bit about her amazing life journey. What's up, Kansas City, ladies and gentlemen? It's my pleasure to introduce today's special guest. Wow, this is really Mrs. Cynthia Newsome.
It is a pleasure to be here. What's up, Kansas City? I'm glad to be here. This is great.
Welcome to What's Up, Kansas City. I mentioned during the introduction there that you've been with the same television station for over 17 years. Is that a virtually unheard of phenomena in today's media industry?
You know, it's actually not. There are a lot of people who do move after 3 or 4 or 5 years, but you know, when you get somewhere that you like the city, you like the town, you like the job, you like the people, and you stick around and stay. So there are a lot of people who've been here a long, long time.
And where did you grow up? Where were you born?
I was born in Lincoln, Nebraska. My dad was in the Air Force, and so I traveled around my whole life. So I'm used to moving about every 3, 4, or 5 years. But I came here from Oklahoma City, and I was weekend anchor in Oklahoma City for, I was in Oklahoma City for 13 years. I was a reporter, and then I moved to the weekend anchor desk, so I was there for 13 years. So maybe I'm just a person that comes to a place, and I kind of plant and bloom and blossom and grow, and I'm kind of a stay-put person.
That's awesome. Mrs. Newsome, we'd like to invite you to step inside our What's Up Kansas City time capsule.
Ooh.
We'd like to go back with you and talk a little bit about your childhood to kind of see the steps, the elements that made you who you are today. Okay. So you were born in Lincoln, Nebraska.
Yes.
What did your parents do?
My dad was in the Air Force, and my mother was a stay-at-home mom.
Okay, and you went to elementary school there in Nebraska?
Well, we lived there 3 years, so I was only 3 years old when we moved. We went to Laredo, Texas after that. Then we lived in Misawa, Japan, Clark Air Force Base, Philippines, Sumter, South Carolina. It was called Eglin Air Force Base, but there was a town that I went to school called Niceville, Florida. So went to high school at Niceville, Florida.
Niceville, Florida. Were there certain subjects that you excelled in, better so than others?
You know, I knew very early on, I was very lucky that I knew early on what I wanted to do. It was kind of amazing. So I loved watching the news. I loved social studies. I loved interviewing people. I started our high school newspaper at Niceville High School called the Niceville Eagle, and it's still going today. And I just knew I wanted to be in the news, so I, began interviewing people, writing editorials, and, creating concepts and themes for our newspapers for the school, for our high school.
Were there any subjects that you didn't take to that you particularly didn't like?
Oh, gosh, I don't know. I really loved all the different things that I learned.
Wow.
While it didn't come easy, I loved algebra. I loved trying to find out what is X or what is XY or,
yes.
What is it? I loved the challenge of it, even though it was a little bit of a struggle. So I think that's good because as a reporter, you need to have a great, at least a little bit of knowledge about a whole lot of things. So I think that was kind of a good thing for me to be able to, be interested in lots of different things, because that's what you need to do as a reporter and as an anchor, is to have a good knowledge of a whole lot of things so you can really be able to converse, be able to ask questions intelligently.
Mrs. Newsome, can you tell us what was going on in the news at that time when you were growing up and you were in high school? What were the top news stories?
Well, I remember Hurricane Eloise was happening. That was a big hurricane in, must have been 1975, because I graduated in 76. I'm proud to say I am 55 years old. I thank God to still be here after my battle with breast cancer, which I think we're going to talk about that a little bit later.
That's amazing.
I'm never ashamed to say I am right now 55 years old and thanking God for it. And so I remember it was 1975, I want to say, gosh, 75 or 74, Hurricane Eloise. And I remember just, the preparation for that because a hurricane is coming and the damage that it caused to different, beach areas and to different homes on base even. So we were fine. We had a broken window at our home, but that's about all I remember. I do remember writing an editorial about what happened and the whole build up to that. And as I read it even now, I think that's not bad. That's not bad. Just kind of giving some perspective and just a real human take on what happened more than just facts and reporting. It was really, it just kind of showed me that I really kind of had a natural knack for what I went into. And so I encourage people, whenever they ask me, what should I, what do you think I should do? What should I be? I don't know what I want to do. I don't know what I want to be. I just say, look at what you like right now. What are the things that you're interested in? Try to pursue some things and see if you like them. If you aren't in anything, to give yourself an idea of what you like. Try some new things, try some different things, see what you like, see what you don't like. You may realize you don't like a lot of things and there might be something out there that you try and you want to stick to and make it a career.
Mrs. Newsome, we're still in the time capsule here. What kind of things did you watch on television? What did you like to watch?
I liked watching Batman, the old Batman, where they had the rock, sock, knock little captions as they, this was the old original Batman. I liked watching Batman, and that was really, I just remember that was one of my favorite shows. Growing up, I liked to watch Tom Jones. Gosh, those are the two that I really remember always definitely wanted to get to the TV and watch.
Awesome, awesome. Now, was there someone instrumental, a teacher, advisor who set you down in high school? I guess at one time or another you decided you really wanted to pursue journalism. Someone who helped you apply and enroll at Oral Roberts University in Tulsa, Oklahoma, which you eventually attended?
So I would have to say my mother was my key influencing force. I told her, I said, I want to start a high school newspaper. Once I decided I wanted to go into news in high school, I said, I'd like to start a high school newspaper. We don't have one. She said, good, great, go for it. And so then at school, there was a teacher, Mrs. Hornbuckle, and she said, okay, sure, I'll be the sponsor. And so we went to the office and got everything set. And so that's how we began, I began that process of getting into news and seeing what it took to try to get things and pull things together. And so that was, I would say, two key people in my life that helped, direct me into news. And then I chose Oral Roberts University because they had the television show. And I wanted to work on the television production. It was Oral Roberts and You. Mm-hmm. And I knew that they had an amazing, telecommunications facility. Mm-hmm. And they had a campus radio station, and they had the Oracle newspaper. And so, as most universities have those three things, but his show was really important for me to be able to try to work on a television show. And so I was on the actual production team when I went.
Wow,
and
that's amazing.
Yeah, it was really fun to see the back, scenes. Natalie Cole was, how he would have those, superstar guests come on. Well, I was working on the tech crew, putting down the floor and helping with, setting on. So we'd see him come in and rehearse, and it was just very, very exciting, very, very interesting. It was a great learning experience. Mm-hmm. It was a nice decision to make that a goal because I had balanced schoolwork and actually having that extra job and try to make it all work. So it was a good challenge.
Were you also involved in any on-campus organization?
Well, I did news on the campus radio station, and I wrote for the campus newspaper. And other than that, other organizations, no. No, just normal
Now,
stuff.
sometime during your college career, did someone, again, sit you down, a mentor, someone who noticed what you were doing and said, I like what you're doing, Mrs. Cynthia, but here's how you can become even better, and this can possibly lead to open doors in the industry? Did someone kind of establish that mentorship relationship with you?
There was a man whose name was Dr. Durfee, and he actually was a teacher at ORU, but he also had his own independent radio station. I mean, he had built a tower. He was an engineer, so he built his own tower, had his own radio station. And I think that his experience telling us what he did and that he started it himself and it was still going and it was making money. and that it mattered. I think that really influenced me to think about how far I could go and what I could do, but what I needed to learn to be able to do it. He couldn't have done that if he hadn't learned all of the engineering skills that you have to be able to have the knowledge to be able to repair things, build things, and make that happen. So I think he was a key influence, and I think he was an encouragement. I think there were several people and teachers who encouraged me to keep trying, to keep going, to to just make sure that I'm well prepared when I graduate, and then I'll have lots of options in terms of potential jobs.
And what was your first job?
My first job was in Oklahoma City, and it was in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where I graduated, and I worked at KRMG radio, and it's a regular news talk radio station, and so Richard Dowdell was the news director of that. But I have to tell you, before then, I was an intern, and then I became an actual full-time person at KCFO radio. So actually, first it was KCFO radio right out of college, and that was a Christian radio station, and I did the news there. And then I went straight into KRMG. About a year I spent at KCFO, and then I went to KRMG, and that's where I really cut my teeth on news and asking questions and having to go back and ask questions that I didn't think about asking, and that's where I learned how to have a presence on the air and use my voice, because it's just radio, so it's just your voice, so you really get adept at trying to emphasize and focus on your verbal skills to make sure people are hearing and understanding you. And so those were my first jobs.
Well, let's fast forward. Present day, we're here in What's Up Kansas City studios. Out of your multifaceted career, what two stories, Mrs. Newsome, would you say that you're most proud of?
Oh, first I would have to say I was in Oklahoma City when the Oklahoma City bombing happened. And I remember I actually heard the sound of the bomb. It was 9:02 that the Murrah Federal Building exploded. And I remember hearing that sound. I'm thinking, I was on the road driving, and I was thinking, did somebody's car backfire? What was that? And then to discover that it was actually, a bomb, and that the building had exploded. And, we went into, I was working at KWTV at the time, and we went into, wall-to-wall coverage for, oh my goodness, it must have been 10 days that we were wall-to-wall coverage. And then we scaled back and began to show some programming. But it was just the most impactful story to me personally, to see that devastation and damage, and then to jump into reporter mode and just to begin to interview people that were affected by that were down there holding pictures, trying to find their loved ones that were missing, to hear the stories of people who knew their loved ones were lost. And then just to bring it full circle, when I came here, they sent me back to Oklahoma City to cover the trial of Timothy McVeigh, who was convicted, and to be there for that sentencing. And so I was there in Oklahoma City at the bomb site, and then, of course, they built up a big memorial. If you go to Oklahoma City and you go to the memorial there, you can actually see me doing different live shots, because they've got different television station reporters who were giving reports. And after the explosion, weeks after, I began a segment just celebrating the lives of those that were lost. And so they've got shots of me outside reporting during the actual explosion, and then they've got the stories of some of the people who actually were killed.
Let's talk a little bit about the media business challenges and successes that you faced. Have you ever, at one time or another, Mrs. Newsome, felt that you've had to work harder to overcome perhaps prejudice because you are a minority and you are a woman? Have you ever had to?
Well, I feel that I've always had the work ethic instilled in me, that you are to work harder. You are to be your best. You need to make sure that you are giving it your best and more, and that you're preparing and honing and training and grooming yourself, professionally developing yourself to be better and to be more. I don't like to think about that it's a competition, because in my heart and because of my faith, I just believe that God controls my career, my future, my life. And so I just believe that I get indoors that I'm supposed to get in, and the doors are closed, that God closes for me. So, but the reality is that there are people who have predispositions against hiring you. Maybe they don't feel connected to you because you don't look like their sister or neighbor or friend or church member, because their world is different. But I think those barriers have come down. I think that what you have to do is prove yourself worthy. Mm-hmm. So I was very blessed in my career. I can't say it was me. I think it was just God blessing me. I never really felt any prejudice from any of the people that would hire me. Of course, they hired me, so they liked me. But, and my success was their success, so They wanted me to be successful. So I think I was just very blessed to not experience that. Now, from people that I covered and stories that I went and did, of course I felt that. But it didn't stop me. You just press ahead. It's just what life is. You just face challenges and you keep going.
Ms. Newsome, I'd like to ask you a little bit about your successes. Is there a particular achievement that you've accomplished that you are most proud of?
Oh, there's just so many things.
Congratulations.
I just feel like one of the most important and life-changing things that I've done with my life was to come here, and I started the organization Awesome Ambitions, along with Angela Curry, who's a former columnist with the Kansas City Star. We founded Awesome Ambitions, and that is a girls' organization that it really focuses on helping to teach girls in Kansas City Public Schools life skills that they're going to need, really key things that they're going to need as far as, it's about empowering them academically, to achieve academically, to set goals, to dream, for what their future careers are going to be. And so that is still going today. Angela's still the director of that. I had to step back because of work, and so I'm pretty much behind the scenes trying to raise money and do organizational kinds of things. But Angela and I'm advisory board chair, but Angela's the director, and she's got her board, and they are forging ahead, and things are just amazing with the different business professionals that come out and help connect with the girls and tell them what they're going to need to know, and the girls get to experience some of the things that they're going to need to do, like interview for a job, and they get to hear from people about choices that they've made in their lives and how they might change that, and how those stories might impact them for their choices.
Ms. Curry invited me out last year. I got the chance to participate for a college day. I really enjoyed myself. These
Absolutely.
Really young ladies carrying themselves professionally, elegantly. How would one of our viewers who may be watching, how would they be able to contact you to get more information?
Well, we have an Awesome Ambitions website. So if you just Google Awesome Ambitions and check it out. Of course, you can always contact me, email at the station, just cynthia.newsome@kshb.com, but that's also online. If you just Google me, you can find it. You don't have to write anything down right now, but just go online and try to connect and find out more information. I'll be happy to send it to you.
And you're very prompt in responding to your emails. I don't think it was a matter of nanoseconds before I heard back for you regarding this interview.
Well, that's only because I happened to be at my desk when you emailed me.
Okay. Right place, right time.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about your role as faculty? I believe you teach at UMKC in their Communication Studies Department.
I did teach at UMKC, but when I developed breast cancer, I stopped teaching, and then I haven't gone back to teaching since I've been back from breast cancer. I developed breast cancer in 2011. I had chemotherapy to shrink the tumor, and then I had surgery, a lumpectomy in my left breast, and then I had radiation. And so I just have not gotten back into the university mode to go back. It's so busy at work, but maybe that might be something that I want to do in the future.
Do students come up to you and talk to you and ask for advice from Mrs. Newsome?
Well, one of the fun things about teaching at the university was that I am plugged in now to, business professionals across the country in the business. So, when people have an idea that they want to be in sports or news, or I can try to help plug them in to people that they can talk with. And so that was a rewarding part of it. So, yeah, it was a good time.
Awesome. You mentioned that you had breast cancer. You were diagnosed in 2011.
Mm-hmm.
What was that recovery experience like? Was it a challenge? And can you speak a little bit about your role today as an advocate with several breast cancer awareness organizations?
Yeah, you're right. I do. I am very my motivation, my personal passion to get the word out, to tell women to definitely have your mammogram, definitely do your monthly self-exams is just huge. I mean, that's exactly, what I want to tell people. I want to tell them when you have a mammogram, get the 3D mammogram because that will it gives the radiologist a 3D image of your breast. A lot of women have dense tissue, meaning they have just lots of lumps that are benign lumps in their breast. And so they can't tell the difference between an actual tumor and just a lumpiness in their breast. So a 3D image is almost like a CAT scan where the doctors can actually see behind a tumor. I had my mammogram in November of 2010, and I started feeling weird when I would get stressed. I would feel my left breast stress. And so I felt like, I don't know, and we'll never know, but I feel like maybe it was hiding behind that tumor because when doctors showed me where the tumor was that they found versus some dense tissue, it was behind that. And so I just don't think that, I just think the 3D image is the best standard now, and that's the up-and-coming standard. All the hospitals have 3D imaging now, so just make sure you get a 3D. But do those self-exams, because if I had waited a whole nother year until November, remember I felt my tumor in June and was diagnosed 10 days later, and so if I had waited 7 more months until November to get a mammogram and discover it, I mean, think how advanced it would be and how much it may have spread. So those self-exams are just huge. And women always want to know, how do you know? How do you know? But I'm telling you, it feels so different. That's why you kind of need to do your self-exams, because you'll know what you generally feel like, but you'll feel something very much harder. It's like the shell of a pistachio nut almost. You'll just feel it'll be very, very hard, even though it's hopefully very, very small. And of course, the smaller it is, the more hope there is to get treated and to be, successful, to, survive it. And so that's when you want to find it. So that's my message. And I work with the Komen Foundation, Cancer Action, Back in the Swing. I can't even name Art Bra, KC. Mm-hmm. I do all this because I just feel like I have been given another shot at continuing to live, and I want to make it count. And I think that's what I hope my life is about, that I did things that made a difference for people. I feel like there's a reason things happen to you. Mm-hmm. So, from down to, who you marry, getting a job, not getting a job, whatever happens to you, getting in a certain school, not getting in, those things inspire you to do better and to do more, and they drive you to be better and to accomplish what you want.
Okay, Ms. Newsome, I'm glad that you did survive. We are certainly glad and that you're sitting here with us today. We have about 4 more minutes. I would like to ask you what future projects currently, projects in the near future that you're working on. And
So, I was so excited that you're going to ask this question, because my husband and I are planning a trip to Africa. We have both never gone to Africa, so that's the biggest thing that's going for us right now. Our plan is to go sometime in late September or October, and we're working with the Blue River Baptist Association, and they have, there's a camp of orphans that they've set up in Ethiopia. Mm-hmm. That they take care of these orphans. They don't have parents. They're unaccompanied minors, and they have fled Eritrea, and they're in Ethiopia. And wow. I know, and so they don't have anyone. And so there's this camp, and they have adults there, and they take care of them. And so one of the things that they asked the Baptist Association to do was to have a library so that they can teach these kids in their own language, and they can also teach them English, because they need an education and they need a way to spend their time too. Mm-hmm. And so they need to learn to read. And so that's one of the exciting projects that we're doing. And I'm hopefully going to be talking a little bit more about it on the air and in some other different media here in town about that project and that initiative. But people have already been collecting books, just, readers and, old, academic books. And then we're going to buy books in their language when we get there. And so we're going to work with that team. I don't want to make it sound like my husband and I are doing this. We're doing this with the Baptist Association here in Kansas City called Blue River. So that's one of the most exciting things. So we're also going to go to Kenya. And certainly we want to do a side trip with, we got to do one of the excursions that everybody does. You got to do the safari and see the different native lands. And so we're really hoping to spend about 12 days in country in Africa and really try to make a difference, not just go and enjoy, but go and make a difference and really connect and, with these African refugees.
We look forward to hearing more about that. Will you write journal entries about that?
I will. I'm going to be doing that. I'm going to come back with some stories. I've also contacted Komen International because wherever I go, I want to try to see if my story will help. I want to share it. And so hopefully I'll be working with Komen. I've talked with some representatives that have contacts in Africa, so hopefully and it's in October, so that's Breast Cancer Awareness Month worldwide, and they do have different initiatives there in Africa. Even though HIV is the disease to battle over there, there are some initiatives for breast cancer. So I'm going to hopefully meet some of the Komen people that are going around, making a difference there with breast cancer. So it should be, wow, quite a trip. We've got our cameras ready to go, and we're just trying to, get ready.
Sounds like quite an adventure. For the next 2 minutes, Mr. Newsome, I have a little fun activity.
Okay.
It's in the vein of 20 questions. I'm going to ask you to tell us about your favorites.
Okay.
Some examples, broad question. Others I'll have either or example. Ready?
Ready.
Okay, let's do this. Favorite college basketball team?
KU.
Favorite college football team?
Football.
The suspense
Ohio.
Ohio. Favorite NFL team?
Chiefs. That was easy.
Favorite NBA team?
Oh man, I grew up loving the Celtics, but I don't know. I'm loving the Oklahoma City Thunder too.
They are putting on quite a show. Michael Jordan or LeBron James?
LeBron.
Favorite comedy movie of all time?
Oh gosh, that is hard. I love Plane, Trains, and Automobiles. Okay, we'll go with that one.
Lucille Ball or Carol Burnett?
Lucille Ball.
Plaza or Westport? That question's kind of not fair.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I would probably hang out more in Plaza because I shop.
Movie theater or Netflix?
I go to movies, but I'm really thinking about Netflix for the dollar value.
Berry Gordy or Clive Davis?
Davis.
Oleta Adams or Anita Baker?
Oleta.
Fred Flintstone or Bart Simpson?
Fred. I grew up on Fred.
Walt Disney or Looney Tunes?
Walt Disney.
Alfred Hitchcock or Twilight Zone?
Alfred Hitchcock.
Favorite place to travel?
Well, I guess it's going to have to be, I haven't been there yet, but I want to go to Africa, so that's my new favorite place.
That's one to look out for. Favorite old school jazz artist?
Old school, I guess Charlie Parker.
Winter in Kansas City or in Lincoln, Nebraska?
I'm going to have to say Kansas City.
Jane Fonda or Donna Richardson?
Jane Fonda.
Steak or barbecue?
Barbecue.
Favorite holiday?
Christmas.
Toni Morrison or Terry McMillan?
McMillan.
Last two. Favorite Black History hero?
Wow. I mean, it's got to be Martin Luther King.
Fair enough. And Mrs. Newsome, last question. Favorite book of the Bible?
Ooh, the favorite book. Ephesians. I would say Ephesians. Yeah.
Any final words for our viewers, Mrs. Newsome?
Well, I can't go without saying, how much I appreciate everyone at 41 Action News, having been there now 18 years. And I just want to say that I came to Kansas City, met and married my husband, Ed Newsome, who's wonderful. and he's just such a man of God and such a great husband and so much fun. So I'm
Congratulations.
excited for all these adventures that we're going on. And
I'm
I
sure
want
you
to
have a
say,
good woman.
I have stepkids, 2 stepkids, Kimberly and Edward. So I want to say hello to them and just my church family, United Believers Community Church. Everybody's invited. We have 2 campuses, so I want to invite everybody to church.
Well, Mrs. Newsome, we thank you for joining us here today. Catch Mrs. Newsome, Midday Anchor, KSHB, every weekday at 11 o'clock. They can go on the website, get more information about Awesome Ambition and more about your upcoming public speaking engagements.
Yeah, definitely.
What's up, Kansas City? I'm your host, Glenn Bryan for Zell. We'd like to invite you to check out more video online at www.whatsupkansascity.net. And remember, the sky's the limit. Aim high. If you shoot for the moon and you miss, at the very least, you can say you landed among the stars. Take care until next time.
Bye. What's up?
Thank you very much, Mr. Newsome.
Thank you. That was super great. Yeah. Whew, I was getting...
CMG wants you to always remember, the victory we call success goes to the best prepared. When you invest in your community, you are really just investing in yourself. Thanks.